Hey, welcome everybody. This is the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. You are joining us for the last podcast of the 2021 calendar year. Certainly not the last one of the season by any means, but definitely the last one for 2021. And we are coming off a pretty lackluster performance in Kansas City last week. We'll dive into that as well as many other things associated with your Pittsburgh Steelers. We expect Ian to be along shortly after one of his 312 kids falls asleep. But until then, Mr. Ben Anderson is kind enough to join us. And Ben, have you had a chance to grab something to drink tonight?
I have.
And it is?
Twilight Golden Ale.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's tasty.
Yeah. Well, tasty is good. I just have from America's Oldest Brew, Yingling Light. I needed something cold tonight. I don't know why. Just felt like that. I believe me, I've got my whiskeys sitting here next to me. I did mention on Twitter, and I probably jumped the gun a little bit because I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that you guys probably were gifted perhaps some alcohol over the holidays, and if I was wrong in that assumption, then I stand corrected. But I picked up another Bradshaw bourbon,
nice,
and a Maker's Mark. I got a fifth of that yesterday or 2 days ago. So doing very well in that department. Yeah. So
I'm usually not suffering for whiskey.
No, I would think not. Yeah, I would think not.
Doing pretty okay.
Okay, so you know what? I didn't expect a bunch from the game in Kansas City. I thought it would be a much more competitive game, but it was not. Steelers lose 36-10. It was very, very ugly. The 7 of the 10 coming in the final minutes there to make it a tad more respectable.
The term you're looking for is garbage time.
Garbage time, and yeah, well, so much garbage time that Mason Rudolph eventually made an appearance. Fitting the day after Christmas, so Rudy making an appearance at that time of year, not surprising. But it was just bad, Ben. I mean, spend as much or as little time as you would like to giving your thoughts on what you saw Sunday.
It was pathetic.
Yep.
Both lines, bad.
Yeah.
TJ Watt, obviously not 100%, doing everything he can to try and make a difference. It was awful. They couldn't get any pressure on Mahomes at all. The few times they did pressure him, he still made a few throws. He's obviously a very good player, but they made it easy for him.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Especially, the defense. When you look at the number of points they've given up in the past 5 weeks, they lead the league in points surrendered by like 30 points.
Yeah.
Over the last 5 games. It's ugly. It is ugly. And this was a vaunted unit coming into the season. We thought they were going to be really good. And they needed to be really good this year to carry this team because the offense obviously wasn't going to do shit and still isn't.
No.
I would say the offense is worse than we expected. We weren't expecting much, but they're a little worse than we expected. The defense is much worse than we expected. And if you look at this team as a whole, all 3 units, all 3 phases, they range between average to below average.
Yeah.
The whole, and I'm just talking about the team, the ingredients that are going into the cake. This is not a good team. And I'm not, I know a lot of people want to put it on coaching, locker room leadership, talent. It's all of those things, man. They've had a few bad drafts. They've had some poor off seasons. I think their off-season strategy this year with the offensive line in particular was tragic. tragic. I cannot believe, knowing they were going into this year with a 39-year-old quarterback and no run game and an offensive line that was shit, this was their approach. Well, we'll put a couple of rookies in there and we'll sign a retreads. And, it'll be fine. No. You saw Chuks Okorafor play last year. He wasn't good. You saw Zach Banner play last year. He wasn't good.
No.
Okay? You only saw one game, but he wasn't good. All right? You took a college center who has 4 starts at center and expected him to be NFL ready. He's not ready now. He's played a whole season, and he's not ready. I mean, and honestly, Sunday may have been his worst game. Sunday may have been Kendrick Green's worst game ever.
It was bad. It was
horrible. There were plays when he whiffed so bad on the guy in front of him that he literally just fell straight forward. Touched nothing. I was like, how is this guy still? Why isn't he on the bench? I mean, honestly, J.C. Hassenauer would be better at this point, and
eventually he was. Although they said it was an ankle injury, which seemed to be perfectly in time with the play calf. In which Ben was nearly killed. Yeah, a calf injury. But we'll dive into that. Ian, good to have you back joining us. We trust that you have one of the children's very nearby you, I'm guessing.
I do. Yes, indeed. I'm also wearing this old ratty hat that my dad bought for me the first game of Ben Roethlisberger's career back in 2004, and I still have it.
I was going to guess 94.
Yeah, no, it's seen some stuff. It's seen a few AFC Championship games. It's seen a few, worn it through not 2 Super Bowls. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to any, but wore it while watching a few. So yeah. Oh, hello.
Oh, there's a foot. There's a foot on the screen, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
That's pretty cool, and we'll get into the whole Ben thing here for sure, because I know we all have thoughts and comments. Ian, after what you saw Sunday, is it remarkable that this team is 500?
I mean, the Chiefs are a really good team, but we just looked like dog shit. I mean, we've looked like a 500 team all year, right? We win close games in ugly fashion, and we get blown out by people. Like, we've been inconsistent all year, and that's the mark of a 500 team. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that we're 500 because we look like a 500 team. I think we're all old enough to remember, the 6-10 team, and then some of the 7-9 teams, and some of those, and this team is not that bad, but they're not good either.
Right.
No, they're pretty bad. They really are. And I mean it. I mean, our defense is below average. Our offense is below average. Our special teams, which aren't that great.
Right.
Okay. Are they're the best unit. They're the best unit of the team right now, and they're average at best. They're average on a good day. Honestly, it could be argued, and people are going to roast me for this. It could be argued that the coaches are doing a very good job, given the talent they have to try to make this work this year. And it sucks because in particular, the defense, I expected so much more. And it just, they're awful. Devin Bush has not returned to form. We all know this. Nope. Stephon Tuitt being out all year. Tyson Alualu breaking his ankle. Joe Schobert being good in coverage, but not much else.
Yep.
All of it. The situation at slot corner is shaky at best. That defense is just not good at all.
It's not. And yes, you can point to injuries. You can point to a few different things, but therefore the depth has not been good either, because that has not filled in admirably at all.
I mean, Derek Tuska. I mean, why the hell is that guy still getting reps? Why does he have a regular spot on this roster?
I would chalk it up simply because they got nobody else. They played a guy named John Simon last week.
Yeah, well, they played everybody late in the
Yeah.
game. They played every single guy to give them, I think, just game experience. They were just like, yeah, go
Yeah.
in there, go play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You know,
It
we're
was.
not
It
going
was
to
like-
win. We're not
Think
going to win
about-
anyway. Let's get everybody in there.
Yeah, it was an empty the bench scenario there.
Exactly.
At the end, for sure.
Well, think about where we were at the beginning of the year, though. It seemed like we had a plethora of outside linebackers with Melvin Ingram and Quincy Roche and Jameer Jones, and then Roche gets picked up on waivers by the Giants after
Cutting
camp.
Roche was fucking stupid.
And then they cut Jameer Jones after 2 games.
right.
And then they traded Melvin Ingram, and that's what happens when
Jameer, I still don't understand keeping Jameer Jones and cutting. I know they thought they could get Roche through waivers, and they put him on the practice squad. That was stupid.
I think anytime you do that with a young edge rusher, it's stupid. I just do.
I tend to agree with you, especially a guy that okay, granted, he was a one-trick pony. All he was good at was rushing the passer. But somebody was going to grab him, and he got nabbed immediately.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. My point is that teams look for those kind of guys. Fine. Okay, you're going to be a pass rush specialist. We'll find a place for you because we can use you on special teams too.
We'll figure it out for a year or two while you learn to set the edge and you learn to cover.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, we'll use you on special teams, just like you just said. And then you'll be the 4th or 5th outside linebacker. You won't get any snaps or many snaps on defense, but you'll learn. And that's where he should have been this year. Instead, he's a giant and doing just fine. He's having
he's getting about 50% of snaps per game since like week 8 and has 2.5 sacks, and which is fine for a 6th round rookie. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
More than Derek Tuska's done.
Considering that, with the I guess the mess that they made of the outside linebackers, plus the mess that they made of the offensive line, Ben, we'd have to say pretty bad year for Kevin Colbert.
I mean, it's not just Colbert as far as the draft goes, but yeah, I mean, Colbert has final say.
Yep.
Contractually, he can put his foot down and say, no, we're doing this. It's always been a collaborative, process between the coach and the general manager in this case, or it used to be the director of football operations. Now Kevin is vice president of football operations and general manager. So he's got a little more say, a little more cachet into his title, and he's got a little more say in what goes on. But yeah, I'd say it was a bad year.
Yeah, definitely below average.
Like I mentioned last week, Kelvin Beachum was a free agent. He signed. Kelvin Beachum signed for 2 years. 2 years total. What they paid Zach Banner for 1 year. Okay.
Yeah.
So they could have gone to Beachum and said, "Hey, we'll give you $4.5 or $5 million for 2 years. How do you feel about that?"
And he would have taken it.
You want to come back? Because we'd like to have you back.
Yeah.
And put his ass at left tackle. And he's a journeyman left tackle, but he's started every game for Arizona this year, and then drafted Creed Humphrey in the 2nd round. Yes, I know you wouldn't have gotten Pat Freiermuth, who's going to be a very good player, but again, the impact of skill players is blunted. It's diminished greatly when the offensive line is as bad as this unit is, and they suck.
It's not good, and I do want to give a shout out to Chris G, who's a friend of our site. He's written some stuff for us in the past. He posted that picture on Twitter of Kendrick Green and Dan Moore standing with Creed Humphrey and I forget the other young man's name, rookie lineman for the Chiefs.
Smith,
yeah, and. Wow. Nice job, Chris. Way to rub it in.
Yeah. Let's take that dirty diaper and just smear it in your face.
It's exactly what he was doing.
Bastard.
It's one of those things. I mean, you second guess the draft every single year, and 2 years later, and 3 years later, and
I didn't love the pick that day. I didn't like the pick of Najee Harris in the first round. It's not because Najee's a bad player or a bad guy. He's a great player.
Right.
He's a great talent, but you need an offensive line in front of you to be effective.
They've neglected
and he doesn't have one.
Yep. They've just neglected it too long. You were talking about all the points they've given up in the last 5 or 6 weeks. I mean, that throws in a 13-point defensive performance against the Titans. So that tells you how bad they're doing in some of the other games. Jeez. So the Chiefs are done. They will go on into Cincinnati. And look, it's real clear there. If Cincinnati beats the Chiefs, they win the AFC North. If they lose, then the door remains open for everyone. For everyone. Right, for everyone. Basically, what we have coming up on Monday night with Cleveland is pretty much an elimination game. You lose, you're done. And you win, you remain hopeful. And we still need some assistance from other areas, but we'll get into that here coming up.
The Steelers have got to win 2 games, and that's the thing they should be focused on. Is just winning 2 games, not worrying about who wins what and who does what. They need to win 2 games. If they don't win 2 games, they're not getting in.
No. And as we have discussed many times on this podcast, it would be most fitting if they split the final 2 games, because we all know that means they would finish 8-1.
Yeah, 500 one more time.
500. Yeah. Just a reminder, we are proudly presented to you by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. Deck serves Broward and the southern Palm Beach counties, whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, multifamily, or condos. Contact Deck Roofing today by visiting deckroofing.com. And by the way, my best wishes to everybody down there in the Deck family. They literally all are dealing with COVID right now. The only one that's not is the man himself, John Deck. He swore to me over the weekend that alcohol is the best way to keep COVID away. So whether or not there's any scientific proof of that, I don't know, but I'll take his word for it.
Sounds like something my grandfather would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You want to stay healthy?
Drink whiskey. Some bourbon. Yeah.
Drink some whiskey.
Yeah, something to that effect. Ian, Ben Roethlisberger, first comments that he has made regarding his future. And, I read through some of the comments just before we started here, just to get a little more grasp on it. And I mean, he doesn't come right out and say, this is my last home game, or I'm done at the end of the season. But I mean, he was pointing to that. And as we all know, that's kind of the way Ben has been over the last 18, 19 years. Do you think he's just been worn down by this year, and maybe that's what's leading him to this?
I think so. I think it's on all fronts that, his oh my goodness, Margaret, his offensive line is not effective. They can't keep him clean. He doesn't have time to throw. He doesn't have the same touch on his throws as he used to. So yeah, it's just all around. He just doesn't quite have it anymore.
Ben, I'll keep the question with you. Do you think he's just beat down, worn down by all this?
I think he knows that he's reading the tea leaves, man. His body is not what it once was. His ability is not what it once was. Frankly, this line stinks, and they're not giving him any time. He's getting beat up bad. He's more likely to get injured. He's more likely to have those injuries take longer to recover from. All these things that Father Time does to you over a period of time, and there's no getting around it. And if I'm him, I'm also looking at this offense and I'm going, what the fuck are we doing? I mean, honestly,
that's the look I've seen on his face the last couple of weeks. He has looked very much to me like he has become disinterested, like he has become disillusioned, maybe.
I wouldn't say disinterested, but
I wouldn't say
for him, it's disinterested.
I just frustrated at the play calling. And
yes.
doesn't understand why they're calling the plays that they're calling in the situations when they're calling them.
Yes, absolutely. That's a much better way of saying that.
I kind of wish he would just, I don't know, cut the wire and on the speaker in his helmet and go, I don't know. I can't hear you. Well, I'm just going to call a play. It's fine.
Sorry, coach. Can't hear you. We're going to do it right down here. Throw him in the dirt. I mean, it's just not everybody can walk off like John Elway did, or a Peyton Manning did. Not everybody has those opportunities, and while sad.
Honestly, Ben could have this year if two things had happened. One, if they had fortified the offensive line, like they should have.
Yep.
And then made running back a secondary priority. And if the defense had stayed healthy. But neither one of those things happened, so I don't see it.
It's right. And that's what I was getting at, is the things that needed to happen did not happen. The health, the fortifying the line with experience. And granted, I understand, we all understand the cap issues had something to do with that at the time. But still,
Castro walking away, Stephon Tuitt never coming back.
Exactly.
Steven Nelson deciding he didn't want to play for us anymore. I mean, there was a lot of extraneous factors that happened.
A lot of things going on. And it just hasn't, hasn't gone the way it needed to go.
Nelson didn't really make that decision. I mean, basically, it was, he asked for a lot of money.
Where is he, by the way?
Philly. And they weren't willing to pay the price he wanted, and they moved on.
Yeah.
Long story short, so said, well, you're not going to get that from us. Why don't you go ahead and hit free agency now?
Yeah. Ian, are you going to be there on Monday night?
I will be, yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's my birthday, too. So
nice
little birthday gift of sending off Ben.
Yeah. They typically announce the whoever wins, depending on how the toss goes. That's what usually determines who they're going to introduce. Would you, based on your experience being at Heinz Field as often as you have, will that matter? And they're just going to go ahead and announce the offense?
Oh, they're absolutely announcing the offense. Yeah, they did the defense last game, and I was kind of wondering. I was like, all right, 2 games left. Who are they going to do? And they did the defense last game, so it's absolutely the offense.
That was my thinking when they did the defense there against the Titans as well. It's I think a lot of people are already starting their down memory lane, their eulogies, all this other stuff, if you will. I'll get there. I'm not ready for that yet.
I mean, honestly, the whole "I'm so depressed, I'm going to cry," blah blah. I'm like, why?
Well, think about it. There are some people out there, a lot of people, especially on Twitter, that Ben Roethlisberger is the only Steelers quarterback they've ever known. They don't remember Tommy Maddox or Kent Graham or Bubby Brister or Neil O'Donnell or Cordell Stewart or any of them.
I was a little kid when Terry Bradshaw retired, and I didn't cry. I was like, oh, well, that sucks.
I did.
Well, whatever.
I'll never forget it.
My point is just that I think what we should do in this instance is just be grateful that we had a great quarterback for a good 18 years, because that just doesn't happen, especially now. Very seldom do these guys play for one franchise for their entire careers. And this really is a unique situation where you've got a guy who the vast majority of his career has been a really, really good quarterback for, almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's something people should be celebrating, not moping over. I get it. I get it. Next year, it's going to be Rudy and some vet competing, and Haskins too, and it'll be a 3-man competition. The quarterback ain't going to be great next year.
No.
Okay. But you don't get the franchise quarterback every single year. It is what it is, and football is cyclical. And some of you are going to find out what it was like back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Go to a game. If you get a chance to go to a game, listen to some of the older folks at the tailgate or sitting in the stands. I mean, believe me, they can tell you what the
Tommy Maddox.
Oh my God.
Mike Tomczak.
Hey, Tommy Maddox, to his credit, nobody really expected anything from him. Remember, he got that second chance because he did so well in the XFL.
Yeah, that's right. Who was
XFL
Ian?
MVP? Yeah.
Ian, who was the guy that Cowher let start for like a quarter and a half?
Jim Miller.
Jim Miller. He went from starter to third team in less than a half.
Yeah.
Jim he's on radio here. I can get it once in a while because he's on Chicago radio because he spent time with the Bears. He does a pretty good job. He's on NFL radio too, but I give him credit. He does not disparage Cowher or the Steelers whenever it comes up because he easily probably could, but he's pretty good about it. So I'll give him.
Yeah,
credit.
Cowher. I mean, I'm surprised he gave him the yank that quick, and then to demote him, he demoted him before the game was over. I was like, all right.
That was at Jacksonville.
It was at Jacksonville. Yeah.
Man,
it was 99. I think it was the first week of 99.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah,
was it?
I think so.
99.
Yeah,
because 98 we went to was 98 the AFC Championship game we lost to Denver?
98 they went 7-5 and then they had that coin toss game in Detroit and lost. And then they finished 7-9.
Yeah.
The next year they went 6-10. Then the year after that they went 9-7 and missed the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
And
then
people
and then
people wanted Cordell was already
he would already been there.
Cordell was a Steeler in 95.
95. That's right.
People wanted Cowher fired. He missed playoffs 3 years in a row. They wanted him fired. People forget about this. People wanted him fired. He
couldn't win the big game.
He couldn't win the big game. He'd had a handful of home AFC Championship games. He'd lost those. He hadn't been to the playoffs in 3 years. People wanted him fired.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if Twitter would have existed back then.
Oh yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have made any difference. The Roonies gave him an extension.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, he won a Super Bowl. So all you armchair GMs, stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
You got to have patience, people.
Quit while you're behind.
For sure. Najee Harris is actually 16 yards away from 1,000 yards, which is impressive when you consider the offensive line, but it's also, what does that average out to over 17 games, like 56 yards a game, something like that. So, it's not what it once was, but I think
I'd say the most impressive thing with Najee has been his durability. I mean, look around the league at running backs. Like Derrick Henry went down, and Christian McCaffrey's missed a bunch of time, and all these star running backs have just missed a lot of time this year. And Najee's been durable.
Yeah, he really has. So he's more than likely going to get that 1,000 yards this year. He's already up over 60 receptions as well. And again, we can play the what if game and, about whether we should have drafted him, should have built the line, whatever it is, what it is. He's our running back. He's been there every week, and that's as much as I could ask of that kid.
Najee's extremely talented, and he's a great person by all accounts.
Very great person, yeah.
The problem is the line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made him a bad pick. That and the fact that Tomlin is going to run his wheels off. He's going to have 5 years where maybe he's productive. I hope he's more productive than this year, where he's averaging 3.7 yards per carry. And then he's done. He's going to touch the ball 400 times this year, man.
Yeah,
400 times.
Yeah, any doubts that anyone would have had that Tomlin wasn't going to run his wheels off? Look at this year already.
I don't know what you were smoking if you thought that was the case.
Yeah, exactly. Couple of other items. We still don't know if we will have Presley Harvin III this week. He is still tending to the death of his father. Corliss Waitman, who we had a little bit of familiarity with, came in and punted extremely well. And, this is a business. I think it was Jimmy Johnson many years ago that made the comment about something along the lines of, I don't care why it is you're not on the field, you can lose your starting job. And I'm not saying Presley Harvin will, but this definitely opens the door. It was going to be open anyway for competition based on his performance this year. But
the thing that Waitman can't do is roll the ball, and that's why he didn't win the job. He's got enough. He's got plenty of leg strength. That's not the issue. What these really good punters can do is drop the ball inside the 20, inside the 15, and not have it roll into the end zone.
Right.
Because they have the ability to make the ball come back or roll this way. They're that good at kicking. Waitman can't do that. What he can do is kick the ball high and long.
No, you're right.
But what he needs is the gunners to get downfield and be able to down that ball. And that's been kind of a mixed bag. It's a pretty average unit.
Yeah, well, that's for damn sure. Ian, have you seen, this is an unusual question that I doubt many podcasts are talking about. Have you seen anything of Matt Canada that makes you say, okay, I like what he's doing there, or I see what he's trying to do there? Is there anything there?
It's a loaded question.
No. And not only that, it seems like Ben, who's the guy with the most offensive experience of anyone on the team, doesn't even have the leeway to say, hey, I see this, let's do this because it's going to work. Like last year, for as bad as Randy Fiechner was, and we talked about this a lot, that Ben was basically in the second half of games drawing up plays in the dirt because he was like, I see this out there. Hey, Juju running out. And it still worked because like Ben saw something and he would just tell the guys at the line what routes to run, but it worked because Ben has seen enough defenses to know what they're throwing at him and know what's going to happen. But this year he doesn't even have that leeway, it seems like, or the ability to audible or whatever it is that, he's really hamstrung. And I think that's some of his frustration with, saying he's done after this year, is that he doesn't have that freedom anymore that he had under previous offensive coordinators.
I think that's a part of it. I think we also need to bear in mind that specific to this last week, having been at a game in Kansas City, and it's been a little while, but that is an incredibly loud stadium.
Very difficult to
trying to audible there. Unless you know your players really, really well and can just use hand signals, it
is very difficult place. One of the loudest.
Really hard place to audible at the line. Really hard place. So, I mean, it'll be easier this week because he's at home and he can go. He can do the thing where he's like, okay, that's enough. But on the road, that's tough, man.
It's funny you mention the on the road versus on the home and communicating. The older I get, the more I realize there's a lot of dumb fans out there. It stuns me. And
you
maybe
just are getting that?
Well, let me finish. The amount of people in Heinz Field who start cheering louder as Ben comes to the line, I'm looking around like, no, calm down. Cheer between plays. If it's a big play, scream your head off. And then when he comes to the line, be quiet again. He's got to communicate. When we're on defense, go nuts. I don't care what you do. But it just seems to me the more I've been to games in recent years, people aren't realizing this. They just scream regardless of the situation. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
No, I've definitely seen it too.
Ian?
Yeah. I've definitely seen it too. Yeah. People have no idea. Stadium etiquette, nothing.
No clue. It's just, I'm sure part of it's probably alcohol and who knows
what
else. But there was alcohol in games years ago too. We need smarter fans, damn it.
Well, the Steelers are 2-5 on the road.
Yeah.
And they're 5-2-1. Thank you, Rudy. Jackass. At home.
The defense didn't help that
as far
day
as
either.
I'm concerned, they should be 5-3 at home because tying the Detroit Lions should be a loss. But Yeah, it just shows you that there's a level of difficulty, especially this year with the talent disparity they have, that makes playing at home a lot easier.
Yeah. No, there's no question.
Well, when you have this many young guys on an offensive line, it's hard to do a silent count because they're not used to playing with each other. They don't know what the signals are. They don't know how to
because the center ignores the guard sitting next to him, tapping him on the ass.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, all that.
Well, we were trying to, and I don't really know. Well, and I was trying to get the snap, but I wasn't sure. And then
your center can't even snap the ball in the right place and it's snapping it over Ben's shoulder, and it's bad. We need to draft a center next year. Green is not it. I'm not sold on him.
Would you move him to guard?
I'd do that before I'd play him at center again. Yeah.
I mean, he's an undersized center.
He's undersized guard too.
He'd be a way undersized guard.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, being that small and quick, you could play center if you learned how to use your hands, which he doesn't do. I don't know, man.
His balance worries me now.
I mean, if he doesn't see some dramatic improvement, I am starting to see just a guy who's going to be a bust. I don't know that
he's a third round pick too. I mean, I don't. How much of a bust can you call a third round pick? Like, you don't expect a third round pick.
That's a premium pick. Yeah, no. When you take a guy, no, not necessarily year one, but when you take a third round pick, you're looking at a guy who's going to be a starter.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Future starter, but not a year one starter. Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. I look at a guy like Dan Moore, who I don't think should be starting this year. I don't think it's fair that he is. But yeah, Kendrick Green, I don't know that I expected him to be ready to play right away. But what I did expect him to do was grow into the role over the course of the season and learn it and become a competent center, average by this point in this season. This is some of the worst center play I've ever seen. And it was glaring when Creed Humphrey was taking on Cam Hayward one-on-one and holding his own.
He was.
And I was like, we could have drafted that guy, and instead we got Kendrick fucking Green.
I can't say it any more plain than that.
Tripping over the 40-yard line because he can't even find a guy to block. Yeah. It's bad. And I mean, the only one that came close was Sean Mahan, who spent most of the game flat on his back in 2009. But other than that, I mean, we've had a really good run of centers too, from Webster to Dawson to even was it Justin Hartwig and Jeff Hardings, and then Pouncey. Yeah, I mean, we've had a good run of centers, and Hartwig and Hardings, neither of them were like all pro guys, but they were very solid top half of the league.
No. Hardings was a Pro Bowler.
What? Yeah.
Hardings was a Pro Bowler with the Steelers.
Not an all pro, but a Pro Bowler, right? Yeah.
But a Pro Bowler, right?
Yeah. So but we've had a really good run of centers, but I agree. Arguably one of the most important positions on the line, because as we've seen, interior pressure just kills everything you want to do. It kills the running game. It kills the passing game. You just can't do anything.
Well, in order to avoid that, the interior offensive linemen have to actually make contact with the defensive tackles. So
contact is always good.
That's the first prerequisite. And I think that maybe if they did that, at least it would slow things down a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
Trey Turner's been really bad about that this year, by the way.
Trey Turner's been awful. I don't get it. I do not get it. John LeGlue comes in off the street and is out playing Trey Turner.
He's been the most serviceable of the interior guys in recent weeks. There's no doubt about it. Just a reminder, everybody, we are very, very proud, to be part of the Pigskin Podcast Network, which means that we are very happy to be aligned with folks at DraftKings. Right now, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting sports partner of the NFL. There it is. I Spit it out eventually.
Got all those letters out. NFL,
oh my God. It's like
TPM.
acronyms and this and that. And hell with it all. Yeah. Okay. The Brownies come in this week, guys. Ian, is it as simple as just saying we've got to stop the running game?
Yeah. Somewhat, yeah. I mean, Baker Mayfield sucks. I think I mentioned the last time we played them that my dad sent me a text message during the game and said something to the extent of like, if your life depended on Baker Mayfield leading a game-winning drive, you better get a priest to read you some last rites. And not only is that an all-world text
great.
from my dad,
That was so great.
But I saw a stat the other day on Twitter. Baker Mayfield in his career has had 16 opportunities for game-winning drives in the last 2 minutes of games, and they are 2-14 in those games.
Yes!
So it's kind of true. Like he sucks when he has to actually throw the ball and can't go play action and go off the running game. That said, if anyone from Cleveland is listening, you should absolutely pay him $40 million a year for like the next 20 years.
$50 million.
Yeah.
$50 million, fully guaranteed. 5 years, $250 million, fully guaranteed.
Yes,
absolutely.
I think the Green Bay game last week was his death knell. I think he's done there. I don't think he's coming
there
back.
are Steelers fans who want to sign him if he
they
comes
are
available.
Insane.
I agree. They are on crack.
Don't just look at his interceptions. He missed so many open receivers, and his fundamentals go to shit. His footwork is terrible a lot of times. Plus, and he's
a douchebag. Let's be honest. The guy's a fucking douchebag.
Well, and here's what I'll say too, though, right? That it goes to the point we've been making all night and really all year, that Cleveland did some really good things with their offensive line, and a good offensive line can make up for a mediocre to bad quarterback and make the team competitive.
Yeah.
Look at what the Jets did with Mark Sanchez back in the day. They had a really damn good offensive line. Look at what the
Steelers did with bad quarterbacks back in the day.
That too, yes. And the Browns went out and, they drafted guys, they signed guys in free agency that were good linemen. Like, if the Steelers are going to have some money next year in free agency, they should absolutely go out and sign at least a guard, maybe another tackle also, and then maybe draft one of those positions in the first round too. Like, if you want to help whoever the next quarterback is after Ben Roethlisberger, the best thing you can do, forget drafting skill positions, the best thing you can do is solidify the offensive line and fortify that unit, because that's what Cleveland did, and it helped.
They don't need any skill positions.
Yeah. No, they don't.
No, I agree.
But yeah,
I mean, I think you drafted a developmental tight end. I don't see Eric Ebron coming back.
No.
You have Freiermuth as your starter. Gentry is becoming the backup anyway.
Yeah,
it's fine. You don't need a running back. You need depth at running back, but you don't need a starter at running back. You've got wide receivers. You obviously you need a wide receiver to develop, but the Steelers are really, really good at developing wide receivers.
And you can find those guys in the 6th and 7th round too. Like, you can find,
which is weird.
In the draft. Yeah,
very, very.
You can find running backs late in the draft too. Ben, I know you said that we could have drafted Creed Humphrey over Pat Freiermuth, but what if? Just throwing this out there, hypothetically, what if we had gone Freiermuth, Humphrey, and Trey Sermon, or Freiermuth, Humphrey, and Khalil Herbert, or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, is Najee Harris that more valuable than Creed Humphrey? Like, I know if we had taken Freiermuth in the first round, people have been like, "What a reach! We had so many other needs."
Of course.
But then if you go Freiermuth, Humphrey, running back, like, there were decent, like, Khalil Herbert's looked good for the Bears when he's played. I know Montgomery's played most of the time. Trey Sermon got injured in San Francisco, but I mean, he was, would have been a good fit in our offense. So it just, fortify the offensive line first is what we need to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think part of the problem now in hindsight is that people like Najee so much, especially as a person.
Oh, he's great. He's wonderful.
Right.
I don't think Najee has good outside speed.
No.
I'm not a believer that he can run the outside stretch, but he's a very talented running back.
Absolutely.
I think in listening to Najee talk, he sees the game and can articulate it better than almost anyone I've seen that's not a quarterback in a long time. Like the way he, and I'm sure other guys can see it that way, but the way Najee can articulate it in in interviews and say, well, this guy was supposed to block here, so I knew I had to do this and that, and this was also happening. And just the way he sees the game and understands the running game and the passing game and everything else is next level. And just on a personal level, his commitment to doing work in the community and all that's wonderful. And he's a stand-up human being. He's a great guy, and his understanding of the game is phenomenal. But I think at this point, with how bad the line play has been, he's just second guessing himself. Like, he's not hitting the hole hard anymore. I agree. He gets in there and he tries to dance around because he's just uncertain of what's happening in front of him because the line play has been so bad. And that's not Najee's fault. I think I said last week, having Najee Harris behind our offensive lines, like having a Cadillac in a trailer park. It's just, there's just nothing around him.
Yeah.
We're all on board. The Steelers got to find a way. They're not going to stop Nick Chubb. You got to limit him.
Yeah, I want to make one quick point. The thing the Steelers did to win that game the last time they played the Browns was they stopped the run and they ran the ball.
Yeah.
They did both of those things, and they did it well.
Yep.
And they've got to do it again. If they want to win this game, and they got to win it.
Yeah.
They've got to do both of those things well. It sets up play action. It'll slow down that defense. JOK is back. Myles Garrett's getting healthy. They've got a ton of talented defensive backs back there. They've got to run the ball well. And this line, they stink.
Got to find a way.
And the defense has got to find a way too. I mean, granted, Wormley will be back. I can't believe I'm excited about the fact that Chris Wormley is coming back, but I am because I watched that defensive line last week, and Loudermilk is coming into his own, but he's still not a very good run defender. Not yet.
I think Henry Mondo, solid. I think Loudermilk will be a solid rotational lineman.
I agree.
Like a Travis Kershke, right? They give you some snaps every game and wouldn't have a big drop off, but he's never.
He'll be fine. He's never going to be stellar, I don't think, but he's got plenty of room on that frame still to fill out.
Yeah,
he can get bigger, he can get stronger. That's going to help him at the point of attack. He's already got lateral quicks.
Yeah, I think he does that well.
Pretty impressive, and he uses his hands well already. So I think he's going to be I'm pleasantly surprised. When they made the pick, I hated it. I was like, you traded a fourth next year, so you can take a guy this year.
I'm with you.
That why? And I'm pleasantly surprised so far. But the defensive line, the defensive front, the whole defensive front has got to play better.
Yeah,
Adams can't be jumping, trying to time that snap and trying to jump the line. TJ's got to play better this week.
They do.
Highsmith's got to play better this week. I mean, Cam has just got to play as well as he played every week. That guy, man.
He's had a great year with all he's had to deal with being really
he has.
Guy on the defensive line. So we do. You go back to that game. Of course, that was the game of the famous fake field goal when Boswell got jacked up along the sideline. We were without a kicker, and we still managed to hang on and win that game 15-10 in Cleveland. So, I don't know. It's going to be a great venue to be in on Monday night, and I can't even imagine the emotions and stuff that'll be there. And I'm not even going to try to predict what Ben is going to do or not do. I think if we fell behind, then I think it's going to be Big Ben or all the time. Let's be honest.
With all due respect to the late Kobe Bryant, Ben's going to do what Kobe did in his last game. And I mean, Kobe took 80 shots in his last game. Ben might throw 75 passes this game.
He might. He might, like Ben was referencing earlier, if he cuts the cord to Matt Canada's headset, he might.
Like, I don't know. It just stopped
Sorry,
working.
Coach. Ben, hold on. We'll get the other helmet. Oh, somebody's probably already hidden the other helmet. What do you think happens this weekend, Ben? What do you got?
Man, I don't know. I'm nervous about this game.
Hell yes. I think you run the ball every damn play.
You should. He should have last week.
Yeah.
You don't give the ball to Baker Mayfield. Just stupid. I don't know. I think they're going to come in fired up, and I'd like to believe they're going to win. So I'm going to say Steelers 17, Browns 13.
Okay. All right. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Ian?
I'm kind of struggling with this one too, because I think we win, but unless Ben just goes YOLO and takes it on himself to throw all the time, like, I'm not convinced we can convert a lot of opportunities into touchdowns. If the game's played in the 30s, we absolutely lose. But I'm gonna say Steelers 27, Browns 21. 27-21.
I think this game's going to feature a lot of field goals, or at the very least, a lot of field goal attempts. I'm going to go 22-19 Steelers. I have no idea if that means
22-19.
Yep, I'm giving you those weird numbers. It's going to be a lot of field goals. I don't know if that means Boswell kicks one to win it. Doesn't matter. Just make your field goals, Boz. That's all I can tell you from that viewpoint. But anyway, we'll have much more next week on Ben's presumably last home game, and then get ready. And of course, ironically, his career really kind of kicked off in Baltimore and potentially could end in Baltimore. So.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we get a playoff game.
Right.
But
right.
Win 2 games and see what happens.
Let's win these 2 and just let the chips fall. That's for sure.
One other thing before we go. Shout out to a friend of the show, Rizzo Sarge, who is taking a long leave of absence from Twitter. He mentioned the other day he's leaving Twitter. So
the twatter.
Thanks, Sarge, for all your support over the years. We appreciate it.
Rizzo has had a tough go. He's had some personal issues over the last year or 2 with family members and stuff and illnesses and everything. And, sometimes it's just the best thing to do. Some people take a little break from Twitter or social media, and he's basically saying, I need to take more than that. Whether or not he does, we don't know. He knows he's always got friends here. And as you said, Ian, we appreciate his support over the years. Hopefully everything's well with him and things get better for him as well.
Hey, we should wish Ellie a happy birthday. Even though she didn't call in.
I'm disappointed.
What the hell, Ellie?
I'm sad. She didn't call. I have a feeling based on some photos I've seen from earlier that she may not be in any condition,
to speak,
to call in. But
wait a minute, we all drink on the show. What do you mean?
Well, let's just assume that she's had much more than she usually does. I'm going to just throw that out there. I think that's probably the case.
That's fair.
Anyway,
I will also add, though, that it is a little disappointing because British people have a great way of stringing swear words together that was probably like the only applicable way to describe that Steelers game against the Chiefs.
That's a good point. Yeah. And I think the last time she joined us, she did in fact string a few words together. And the audience was quite pleased with that. So we'll hopefully get her on very, very soon. But happy birthday to her for sure. So, all right, for you guys and for our great sponsors, Deck Roofing, Pigskin Podcast Network, and DraftKings, we are signing off on the SCB Steelers Podcast. And hey, Go Steelers.
Ravens suck.
Fuck the Browns.